And we're back. Here's the next installment of our little model engine building process here. I just wanted to show this. We're at kind of a good stopping point here. Now that the ignition wires have glued into the distributor, I cut them and then pulled them down. So instead of loops, we actually have straight wires going into the engine now. And I'm going to glue those into the heads, into the holes I pre-drilled. But before I do that, I wanted to show, because that's typically how I do it, the heat staining on the heads, the headers that I've done. You can kind of see there. Let the camera focus. How do I do that? Well, a lot of guys will do that with an airbrush. I actually just use bottle paint here, the clear blue and the clear amber paint. And basically what I do is come in with a paintbrush. We take the paint and we actually thin it out, and I just let it flow into the low-lying areas of the exhaust headers right here. Start off with the orange and then come back through with the clear blue. Again, thin the daylights out of it and just let it kind of naturally flow over the headers. You're going to want to do the blue, as I did, in dollops in the corners there, because that's where the heat staining is the greatest, where the exhaust gases have to kind of they have to go around the bend like that. Okay. And also, if you use the acrylic paints like I do, if it's a little bit too heavy-handed, you can just rub it off with your finger or a cotton swab or something like that. Just, again, use real-world pictures to kind of get it so that it looks real and that sort of thing. And keep in mind that when it's actually buried inside of a car with all the stuff around it, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to look the part. And it's another detailing trick that I use on my engines. So now, we'll get back to the Chevy engine in a second here, but the Mustang engine progressed a little bit while we were away. Hopefully the camera picks this up, but let's see here. I'll try to get under some better light here. As you can see, I installed the spark plug wires into the cylinder heads. And to make the boots, I actually used wire insulation. This is just stripped off of like some really thin gauge wire. Again, just go with what your application calls for, what works. And then, as you can maybe see, come on camera, there we go. Right at the end of the wires there, before they go down into the cylinder head, I've got a zip tie on there. How did I do that? Sewing thread. A lot of guys do this. To make scale zip ties, all you do is you tie a slip knot around the wires, pull it tight. Then while you pull it tight, little dab of super glue on the threads, which will soak right in. Pull it, as tight as you can. Let that dry, preferably overnight. And then I just nip the edges off. Maybe I'll do one or two on the Chevy engine here to show you what those look like. But again, and that's not just for plug wires. You can make scale zip ties like this anyway like that. For anything, oil cooler lines, whatever your car needs. The big key is to tie a slip knot, because that'll actually put the little head on the end of the zip tie like you'd have in real life. And it's quite a realistic effect. And again, it's cheap and easy to do. So that's all for now. We'll be back after I've done a little bit more on these engines, and we'll see what they turn out like.